Hello, welcome to Oceanic Oracle. My name is Ari and today we're going to be talking about my August TBR. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's already August. It's going to be August really soon. I'm moving in August, so now's not a great time for me book-wise, but it's actually quite funny because I'm taking part in the Magical Readathon this month, as well as pulling my cards. So I'll talk about the Magical Readathon first before I discuss the cards that I have for my TBR game. So the Magical Readathon was created by Book Roast. She's created this whole world, and everyone who takes part in it has the opportunity to create their own characters. And this month is the autumn equinox, or the autumn semester, coming up to autumn. Also, it depends on how you define autumn. Definitely doesn't feel like autumn for me in the tropics. I took part in the first semester back in, I believe it was April. That's where you choose your career. Your character chooses their career path. So I have a character. My character's name is Vespera. She is a water earthling, so if you take part in the readathon, you get to create your own character. It's sort of a bit like, I guess, role-playing game, if you get that, like Dungeons and Dragons, I guess. So you go through character creation. I am a water earthling. My character Vespera is a water earthling. That means she is a elemental magic user. She controls water. I'm a member of the Order of the Crescent Guild, which is the guild which is related to elemental magic, so it makes sense that my choices, or the choices that my character made me end up in this guild. It's sort of like a sorting situation. Every character is assigned to a different house. There are 4 houses in total. Now, my character Vespera, her career path or her calling is Master of the Elements. This is my guild's specialty career pathway. The prompts that I need to read for the Magical Readathon all come from this pathway that I chose. This time around, instead of just reading one book for one class prompt, you have to get a specific mark. So we have O, which is the lowest level, Q, which is second highest, and D, which is on top, basically. So O is for ordinary, Q is for qualified, and D is for distinguished. I've just opened my book journal. My calling is Master of the Elements, so I have my marks that I need to get. For each mark, you have to read a book. So if I have to get a D in Elemental Studies, so that means I have to read 2 books before I can read the prompt for D. So I have to go O, then Q, then D in order to achieve that mark. So that's gonna be interesting. There are 2 classes where I have to complete like that. The rest of them are all O's, which is good. So in total, for my Magical Readathon, I have to read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have to read 8 books, which hopefully won't be too bad. Fingers crossed, but we'll see what ends up happening. Most of the time now, I am actually focusing on removing furniture from my house, so I actually do have a bit of time. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. And I do have quite a lot of audiobooks now because I've just got my own Audible account, and I've just been listening to audiobooks on there, which is such a relief. I do have those prompts. And now I'm going to explain how my TBR game, so I also have a TBR game that I've been playing since the start of this year. And my TBR game revolves these cards. Now these cards, they all come in sets. My goal is to collect all the sets, or just run through all of these cards. The reason that I do this is so that I have much more randomization in my reading. If I do mood reading, then I tend to just focus on one thing that I'm obsessed over, and then once that obsession dies, then it's like, what do I want to read next? And these help me go through my books a lot faster. I do only have the books in my stack, my physical book stack here. So when I play a game, I draw a card, and whatever prompt is on this card, so this is one of the pink cards, says a rose by any other name, read a fantasy romance. So I have to read a fantasy romance to fulfill that card. So I need to incorporate both these as well as the prompts that I need to complete for my syllabus. So it's gonna be interesting. I am going to swap you, so I'm gonna actually film on the ground because my tables are gone. And yeah, let's get picking. This is the floor, hello. I've just shuffled and cut the deck. So let's pick the first card for August. The first card for August is Long ago, read a book classed as historical fiction. Okay, let's see what I can find for that. Okay, so the first card I picked up was Long Ago, which was to read a book classed as historical fiction. So this book is called First to Fall, and the prompt that I'm going to be lumping in for the Magical Readathon is my prompt for the O mark for Elemental Studies. My Elemental Studies class means I need to read 3 books for it. So this book works for the lowest mark, which is the O, and it's for element of water. Like, start a book off with a drink, which is fairly easy for me. I always have like at least water lying around, so when I'm reading this, I need to make sure I have some water or some tea or some coffee or whatever I'm drinking. And yeah, that seems like a very easy one to fulfill. This book is like a historical fiction of friends to lovers. It's dual perspective. It follows Amory Bartholomew and her best friend Augustus. Emery is being pushed towards the marriage mark. She really doesn't want to get married, and Augustus is sort of like run into a similar situation. So Amory comes up with an idea where they court each other. Seems to solve both their issues, except they don't count on feelings and attachments forming. So it seems like a fun book. Hopefully it will be pretty easy to start off my Elemental Studies journey with. So that fits my Long Ago prompt card, as well as my Element of Water prompt for my Elemental Studies class. Card number 2 is The Wind, It's Calling. Read any book featuring elemental magic. Okay, so card number 2, The Wind, It's Calling. Read a book featuring elemental magic. Now, I had to dig through my files and try and find something that would fit for this. I actually went way back to, I think, the beginning of last year. Mind you, I've listened to this book countless times in the past. I actually started reading the series when I was at school, and last year was the first time I actually finished it. The series I'm talking about, or the first book in the series, I should say, is Sandry's book. This is by Tamara Prince. It's the first book in the Circle of Magic series now. I used to listen to these when I was younger. I used to take them out from the library. Weirdly enough, I listened to them out of order. The first book I ever listened to wasn't actually Sandry's book. It was the second book in the series, which is really funny. This is going to fill my O prompt for my Animal Studies class. Now, if you read the book, you'll know the animal companion I'm talking about. It comes a bit later on. I'll be listening to this on Audible. There is definitely an animal companion in here, and I remembered it when I was scrolling through my phone looking for something that would fit. Sandry's book is the first in the Circle of Magic series, features lots of elemental magic. This is a middle grade series. Sandry and her 4 friends all sort of have different abilities that are hinted at. So Sandry can actually plait light, and she is an excellent weaver. Another one of the main characters, so Briar, has a gift with nature and like plants. Tris is a storm wielder, let's say that. She can control the weather. And Daja is like a fire user. She can handle metal very well. It's a really fun series. If you haven't read it, I really enjoyed this series. It's very light-hearted. I'm so happy that this fit. And that's what I'm going to be reading for my Animal Studies ordinary class, ordinary prompt, as well as my The Wind It's Calling prompt. So there we go. Card number 3 is, 2 cards in this. Read any book featuring a magical beast. Okay. So, I've just picked up A Roar Rang Through the Air, which is to read a book featuring a magical beast. Now, my interpretation of a magical beast might be a bit different. I have looked at the tags for this book, and it does say that it's like person turned into animal and animal turned back into human. So technically, something magical happened, so I'm just going to roll with it. The book I'm reading for A Roar Rang Through the Air is An Enchantment of Ravens. And oh my gosh, this cover. I love this cover. I've been wanting to read this book for such a long time. For this book, the prompt that it fits is for my shapeshifting class, which I need an O in, and the prompt for that is Formation Wings. Read a book with wings on the cover. As you can see, got some wings. The raven has wings here, and you have some tail feathers there. Very exciting. So this book follows Isabel. She's an artist with a dangerous set of clientele, the immortal fair folk or fairies. She receives her first royal patron, Rook, and she makes a deadly mistake. She paints emotion into his eyes, and she basically gets sent off for her crime. I'm very intrigued. I have read one of Margaret Rogerson's books before. I have read The Sorcery of Thorns, which I really enjoyed. So I'm hoping, I've heard tons of good things about this book and I'm really hoping I love it. It's a short book. It's a standalone fantasy. I'm very excited. So, I'm very happy that I finally get to read it. This book fits my Aurora Rank Through the Air card, as well as my Formation Wings prompt for shapeshifting. Card number 4 is, A Rose by Any Other Name. Read a fantasy romance. Okay, I can do that. Okay, so A Rose by Any Other Name. Read any fantasy romance. I've taken a bit of a different spin on this card. So I'm actually going to be reading Out of the Blue, which is one of the books I'm really, really excited for. It's for my distinguished prompt in my Elemental Studies class, which is Wave Formation, Sea Setting. Very fitting. So this book is about Crest and their relationship with this lifeguard. Crest is a mer person. Crest is also non-binary. And it's a love story between a human and a mer person, which is really, really cool. At least I think that. At least that's what it says it is. It's been tagged under the fantasy romance tag. Technically, even though it's like, it's magical realism, it's still an offset of fantasy. I'm going to be listening to this on audiobook, which is very, very exciting. I'm excited to see, I believe it's dual perspective. I'm so, so excited. It sounds so cute and I'm really, really hoping I enjoy it. So Crest has to help Sean get over his ex-boyfriend and it goes from there. It just seems really, really cute and I hope I like this. I haven't read a good book featuring mer people in ages, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed. This just sounds really adorable and I hope I like it. So that's the Rose by Any Other Name card sorted. Card number 5 is Everyday Magic. Read a fantasy book set in the real world. Okay, let's see what I can find. Aha. Everyday Magic. Read a fantasy book set in the real world. Now, I have to explain how I ended up choosing this one because one of the prompts that I have to read for my Elemental Studies class, yes, this is for my Elemental Studies class, is for my qualified prompt, and the prompt was wind redirection. So point at a book in my pile, because this is my book stack now. Point at a book in this pile and I have to read either the book above it or below it. I hit my Blood of Olympus book. I literally just stuck my hand out and hit Blood of Olympus. Above Blood of Olympus was House of Hades. I've already read that. And below it is the Hidden Oracle. So I'm going to be starting the Trials of Apollo series. Whew, it's gonna be interesting. I haven't actually fully completed this series at all. Like, I think I read about 10% of this book and then I had to put it down because these were coming out when I was at university and I did not have time to read. So I'm looking forward to actually reading these like for the first time essentially. I think I know about 10% of what happened. So yeah, I'm going to be reading this one. It's going to be for my wind redirection prompt, which I'm very excited about. So this book follows Apollo. I mean, it's called The Trials of Apollo, and Apollo has been sent down to Earth, basically. He's been banished by Zeus because he's done some pretty stupid things, and he's now an awkward teenage boy. He has to restore the 5 oracles that have gone dark, and he has to work out how he's going to do that. I love Rick Riordan's writing, so I know this series probably won't disappoint me. I'm very excited, and I'm so happy that I get to read it for my Everyday Magic card. So very, very exciting. Card number 6 is, highly hyped book. Read a book that's highly hyped. Okay, I can definitely do that. Highly hyped book. So read a book that's highly hyped. Not really going to be a surprise to anyone. Gallant has been highly hyped for me by lots of people that I've seen online. This is another V.E. Schwab book. So V.E. Schwab is one of my favorite sort of fantasy authors. I really, really enjoyed the A Darker Shade of Magic series. If you haven't read that series and you enjoy elemental magic, if you like adult fantasy, like, you need to go check it out. It's so cool. But this book follows 16-year-old Olivia Pryor, and she's missing 3 things: a mother, a father, and a voice, so she can't speak. Her mother vanished all at once, her father by degrees, and her voice was a thing she never had to start with. Her only companions are the ghouls she sees and her mother's journal, which captured a mind in turmoil. sounds fascinating. I think it sort of jumps between the world as we know it and the death realm. From what it sounds like, I believe she has to go to a school for girls, yes, and she receives a summoning to her uncle, who she's never met, estate. No, but when she arrives, she discovers that the letter is years late, and her uncle's been dead and the estate is empty, except for her cousin. It's really, really cool. It's really interesting. So this book for the Magical Readathon is going to be for my astronomy prompt, for my O marks and my ordinary mark, which is for Lithanthe, which is named after one of the moons that we have on our planet or in our fantasy realm. And the prompt is to read a book with L in the title. As you can see, I've got 2 L's here, so definitely fits. Very excited, very, very hyped, and I hope it lives up to all my expectations, because if it doesn't, I'm going to be a bit sad. So they're very exciting. Card number 7. Forbidden Magic. Read any fantasy book. Okay. Forbidden Magic. Read a fantasy book. Should be fairly simple. I am actually going to be reading one of the oldest books that I've had on my TBR, thanks to my dad. I have given the physical copy of this book back to him, but I picked up this on Audible. This is Mort. Now, this is by Terry Pratchett. This takes place in Terry Pratchett's Disc world, and this follows Mort, title character. Mort becomes Death's apprentice, but my dad says it's extremely funny, and I am really, really looking forward to this. So because this book has been on my TBR for the longest out of any of these books that are on the shelf, this fits my prompt for my restoration class, which is my Q prompt, which is for qualified. And the prompt itself is Enchanted Scroll Mending. Read one of the oldest books on your TBR. This has been on my TBR for like 2 years now, and I haven't read it, and I had to return the books to my dad, and I do want to actually talk to him about it, so I will be listening to that. So good thing I've been drawing a whole load of fantasy cards. I'm looking forward to seeing what it's all about. It just sounds like something that's going to be fun and just like wacky. Terry Pratchett is known for his sort of fantasy world, Disc world, and my dad has tons of books that he wants me to read from that series, but I thought I'd start off with Mort, because again, it's near the beginning of the series. This is the 4th book in the series. You don't actually have to read them in chronological order. You can go wherever, because I think all the books except bar for a few focus on different characters the whole time. You have a couple that turn up all over the time, like Death is fairly frequent in his series, and I look forward to seeing what this is about, so very exciting. And lastly, the last card that we're going to be drawing today is, I've got a set. The Wild Outdoors. Read any fantasy book that takes place primarily outside. Okay, so these are all the cards that I need to read. Interesting. And last, but definitely not least, we have The Wild Outdoors, which is to read a book that takes place primarily outside. I don't know about this setting for this book, but I'm hoping it takes place mostly outside. The book I'm talking about, as you've just seen, is Realm Breaker. I haven't actually read anything by Victoria Aveyard before. I know lots of people read the Red Queen series. That sort of stuff never really appealed to me. I believe this is a different series entirely. This follows 5 different main characters: a squire, an immortal, an assassin, an old sorceress, and a pirate's daughter. And they have a quest to save the world, basically. There's a single object on the cover. I mean, a sword in the hand. I'm just including that in one thing. So the prompt that I have to read for the Magical Readathon for this book is my ordinary prompt for restoration, which is called Object Restoration. Read a book with a singular focus, like a singular object focus on the cover. I think the sword is pretty much the main focus. You can see the hand grabbing it is also like bleeding, but this image to me is like an object focus. I mean, compared to the other books I have on my like TBR shelf, nothing else really fits, and I haven't read this before. I'm intrigued by it. I've heard mixed reviews about Victoria Aveyard. I haven't read any of their books before, so I'm looking forward to seeing if I like their writing, if I want to continue the series, and if I don't, it doesn't really matter. That's the last fantasy book I have in my pile that I haven't actually read, so it's gonna be an interesting month. It really is. And there we have it. So these are the 4 physical books that I will be reading, plus the other 4 that I have. I think 3 of them are audiobooks and 1 of them is on a Kindle, which is useful. But yeah, those are all the books that I really have to read in August. I mean, hopefully I read them in August. We'll see if I have time. Like the 1st of August is the day that all my boxes go. So it's only really like trying to get rid of furniture. That's the main thing. And let me tell you, the struggle is real to get rid of furniture here because so many people are leaving. It is crazy. Anyway, I'm very, very excited. Hopefully I have a good reading month. You just never know. Hopefully, like, I will be taking some of these books on the plane with me, which is useful. It will just depend on what I end up picking up. I do also have to read my books in order. So for my elemental studies, I have to start off with First of All, then The Hidden Oracle, and then I can read Out of the Blue. Same for my restoration prompt. I have to read Realm Breaker first before I can read Mort, which is fine. I'm not gonna judge myself too harshly. I think it will be tough, but I love a challenge, so I'm very, very excited. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe if you want more bookish content. I hope you have a wonderful day or night, depending on when you're watching this. Stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, guys.